Good morning, this is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for September 28th around 8:30 a.m. Here's a close-up visible loop from NOAA of Invest 97L right near the island of Barbados this morning, and the system is cruising off to the west. It's going to probably pass just north of the island, and the circulation is kind of broad in nature. There's maybe an elongated center right in here, and the hurricane hunters are flying around out there, and they're just not finding enough west winds that are strong enough to classify this system. All of the strong tropical storm force wind gusts would be up in this area here. So conditions on Barbados are really not that bad. I'll show you the live cam shot in just a second, but the system is cruising off to the west and should slowly get better organized as it gets into the Caribbean. And here is our local radar from Barbados, and you can see that the system, again, it's not real well organized. And if there's any center at all on this, it would probably be, like I said, an elongated center probably somewhere in here as the banding is wrapping around, and then you have a little bit of inflow coming in here from the south. So I think this is still a disorganized system, and it will become better organized probably when it gets over here just west of the Windward Islands. It would be a little more favorable environment, but again, not real well organized this morning. Here is a shot from the south coast of Barbados from Hastings, and you can see not a lot of wind there, real light southwest winds. Things are kind of calm at the shoreline there, so not a big deal as of now, and it may not be that windy as the day goes on as this moves further off to the west. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the hurricane hunters are flying around in there right now, so let's take a look using the hurricane program at hurricanecity.com, and let's zoom in on our system here and see where the recon is at the moment. They just flew by Barbados, and now they're heading back north again. But if you notice, you can click on these barbs, and very light winds. For example, here we have winds from the east-southeast at 2 miles an hour, just very light winds. And you go north of Barbados, you got winds around 10 miles an hour, so not a big deal going on in Barbados right now. But this really cool thing about this program is you can leave it, set it, and forget it. In other words, you go to Hurricane City, click on the recon right below the tracking map, and this will follow the recon wherever it goes and zoom in on it, and you can click on these barbs to see how strong this system is and what they're finding out there. A pretty cool tool at hurricanecity.com. Sorry about that audio glitch there. All right, here are the 5 best performing models over the past 48 hours. This is excluding the European model data, which does not get included in the calculations until we have a depression or a named storm. So excluding the European, here are the 5 best performers, and these are the Canadian ensemble models for the most part. And CP number 02, the Canadian ensemble number 2, is only off by about 18.6 miles, and that has it near the Cayman Islands. So we'll have to pay attention to this, although the majority of the reliable models, though, are taking this east of Florida and potentially a threat to the mid-Atlantic coast. So let's take a closer look at what the models are thinking. Timing is everything on models, and the NavGem here, for example, this is going out to next Tuesday, which is October 4th, and you can see the system probably the closest of all the operational global models to Florida, having it going right over Andros Island. But notice you have the low up in here off the Newfoundland coast here, moving off the northeast, and then you have this ridging starting to build in here. Now you compare that to the Canadian model, and the Canadian has this a little bit faster, a day later making landfall on the mid-Atlantic coast. But notice up here there's a ridge north of this system which would nudge it towards the United States. So we'll see if that plays out. Here is the European model. Notice the date, October 8th, 3 days behind the other operational global models. So timing is everything, and you have lower pressures up here in New England, and a little bit of a ridge to the southwest that may build in. So we'll have to see if the timing on this reflects whether this affects the U.S. or not. Now this is a great nifty little tool from the Earth Systems Research Laboratory from NOAA. And let's start looking at some of the ensemble runs on this system. Here's the GEFS ensemble runs. And if you use the scale up here at the top, you can see we're talking Category 2, Category 1 type strength as this comes into the eastern Cuba area through the Bahamas and eventually potentially affecting the mid-Atlantic coast as Category 1, Category 2. Now let's look at the GFDL ensembles, and they're taking this a little bit further west towards the Cayman Islands, and it has it up near Category 4 intensity. And if we look at the UK Met operational model, which is a very good model, by the way, Category 1, Haiti, and Eastern Bahamas. Here is the European data. Actually, it's not showing up at the moment, so we're going to have to skip that. I'll show you the operational ECMWF. Here are the Canadian ensembles. Tropical storm, Category 1 for the most part, affecting Jamaica, Cuba. There's probably the biggest spread in the Canadian models. Let's look at the late cycle guidance. Is not available. Oh yeah, there it is. Late cycle models, the BAM shallow, etc. GFDL, again, Category 4 for GFDL. AVN operational model further north. Category 2, Category 1, respectively. And we take a look at the early cycle models. We don't have that data available. Let's look at the FIM model. And this has it Category 2 for Jamaica, Category 1 in the Central Bahamas. Same thing with the other FIM variables, ensembles of the FIM, different runs. And here is the GFS operational. And let's see, there it is. We have it as getting up to near Category 4 status between Jamaica and Haiti, going over East Cuba and through the Central Bahamas as a Category 2 hurricane. And here is the European model run. Actually, the European model data is not coming in at this time, unfortunately. But that's it. There's the Canadian operational. And that has it making a turn to the north right near Jamaica, just southeast of Jamaica, Category 1 hurricane. And finally, if we look at a water vapor image of the entire Atlantic basin, there's several things to keep an eye on. First of all, things are not all that favorable in the Caribbean, and there's a trough right in here that's causing some southwest winds out in front of developing Tropical Storm Matthew. So I don't think this is going to crank up into a hurricane in this area over here. I think if it waits to become a hurricane, it's going to do it over in this area southeast of Jamaica, where things would become a little more favorable. I'm just not liking the southwest upper level wind flow right now to allow this to significantly strengthen over the next couple of days. That's not to say it won't become a tropical storm. It probably will. But cranking up the hurricane near the ABC Islands, I'm not so certain that I'm buying that scenario, as some of the models are indicating. Also, we have our trough up in here, and there it is up over the Great Lakes, and this is going to drift to the south over the next few days and kind of linger over in here, and then eventually move off to the northeast, where maybe a little bit of ridging will happen up here in the northeast, and that would allow whatever happens with Matthew to eventually potentially affect the mid-Atlantic or the Northeast around the 7th or the 8th of October. And again, this is all way out in the future, and there's a lot of speculation on that. But one thing is for certain, there is a potential, if this remains very weak, to potentially still make it as far west as the Gulf of Mexico. There's been many systems over the years that got tangled up down here and never really developed very much. In fact, Joan, I think back in '88, did a number like this and went into Central America. There's been a whole host of systems that have been in this position near the ABC Islands that have eventually made it toward the Yucatan or the Gulf of Mexico. And again, some of those tropical models are indicating this could make it that far west, so I'm not ruling out the possibility for the Gulf of Mexico. But more than likely, the way things are setting up with this deep troughiness out in here on the East Coast, any ridge that does happen up here is not going to be real strong, so I'm still thinking whatever happens, it's going to be more than likely got this kind of a track somewhere, give or take, in this region. So we're going to have to watch this very closely. Areas that need to pay a very close attention to this system, of course, the ABC Islands down here off the coast of South America. The UK Met wants to dip this down in here, and the UK Met is a very good model. Jamaica, very close. Keep a very close eye on this. This could be a hurricane plowing right through Jamaica. Same with Haiti, East Cuba, and all of the Bahamas need to pay very close attention to this, especially for the Florida Peninsula. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll be back with another update in a couple of days, and by then we'll have a much clearer picture of the future of Matthew. Will it affect the Greater Antilles, or will it cruise off to the west? Will it affect Florida or the Mid-Atlantic? Too early to tell, but everybody needs to pay a very, very close attention to Matthew. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I'm Jim Williams. I'll be back in another few days with another update. Thank you for watching.